frankly, well, perhaps you're gay. Is there a point to all these fancy clothes? With all these buckles from your head down to your toes? It's very simple, but I'm just another girl. It's not so easy, but I'm giving it a whirl. Is there something that you're trying to prove? With all the makeup and the way you move, are you looking for some sympathy? No, I'm trying to be the best girl I can be. It's very simple, but I'm just another girl. It's not so easy, but I'm giving it a whirl. Like my martinis dry, cosmos I won't deny. Smoke those long cigarettes. Thank God I'm not dead yet. Done all these crazy things, short of a wedding ring. Just another girl.
Good evening. Thanks for joining us. I'm Callista Solon, and you're watching NLC Trans. Tonight I'm here with my dear friends and usual co-hosts, Tara Alexander and Stacy Dozier. And anyway, thank you all for joining us. Tonight, we're just kind of winging it anyway. We're all exhausted from the move and various other things, so we're just kind of going along. But anyway, we were talking on the way in a bit about the healthcare bill, obviously, which is very interesting for somebody personally that's uninsured at the moment. It's certainly an interesting thing. I don't think it's going to help me, honestly, but at least not any time in the near future. But,
No.
But sooner or later, I think it's a good thing. But I'm not sure. I'm a little bit out of touch. But you have to realize that I've been moving for the past 6 weeks. So
And before that, you didn't have television, and you had one radio station and dial-up internet.
Well, that's true. That's true. So I'm a bit out of touch. But anyway, I'm glad that things are happening on the healthcare. I really am. I'm just not sure that I completely understand what it's going to mean for me, or what it's going to mean certainly for transsexuals or anybody in the transgender community.
I'm sure that I don't understand at all. I was surprised, embarrassingly enough, to learn on the news on Sunday that that we had this historic event where they actually passed a reform. But I really have to admit I don't know anything about it.
And that's true for a large part of America, because the folks in Washington haven't been debating 95% of the bill. They've only been yelling at each other about the 5% that they don't like. Each side has problems with.
Right.
There are a lot of provisions that won't go into effect, from what I understand, until 2013 or 2018. Various dates. The one thing that I've heard that's supposed to go into effect virtually immediately, which may mean April or June 1st, I don't know, but relatively immediately, if I can say that, is that health insurance plans are not allowed, health insurance companies are not allowed to refuse someone based on pre-existing conditions.
Well, that's a good thing.
That was one of the things that was supposed to happen just about immediately when the bill gets signed. Is that a pre-existing condition will not prevent you from being able to get health insurance. I don't know if there's any boundaries around that says, you can't be priced out of health insurance. Just basically that a health insurer has to offer you a plan if you apply for insurance.
Right. That's what just went through my mind, was just make it so expensive they can't afford it anyway.
Yeah.
Expensive enough to pay for the condition because they know they'll be shelling out for it.
Yeah. And the majority of the bill is health insurance reform. Changes a fair number of things about the way health insurance is delivered and managed in this country. Does very little to actually change the way health care is provided. The big deal that has got a lot of states attorneys general in an uproar. There's, I think, 13 states that are suing over it.
Right.
Is the mandate to buy health insurance. It's fairly unprecedented for the government, for the federal government, to require, I forget exactly how it gets worded, but basically to fine you for, or to require you to do something like that.
Right, right, which is certainly an interesting thing. You know, I'm not entirely sure how it works, to be perfectly honest. But it's like, okay, that you want to require me to have health insurance. That sort of seems like a good thing, as long as I can manage to pay for it.
Right, and there are supposed to be subsidies in the plan, in the bill, in the act now, that will help defer the cost progressively depending on what you actually can afford. It's supposed to raise the health coverage, health insurance coverage in the country from something like 83% that it's at now to virtually 95% of the people in the country will be covered, or will be able to be covered, if their projections are right.
Yeah, it's sorry.
Oh, that's what it was. One of the things they were talking about on the radio today was the penalty for not having health insurance, which initially starts out at something like, I think it's like $95 penalty if you don't have health insurance. And of course, the annual cost of a health insurance plan is much, much more than that. But it scales up over time to, I think, somewhere out around 2016 maybe. It ends up being $750 or 2% of your annual income, whichever is greater,
Wow.
as a penalty for not having health insurance. And that's the teeth that they put in the bill in order to basically say, you know, if we're going to try and cover all Americans, if we're going to believe that health insurance and health care coverage is a right that all Americans are entitled to, then you need to have the healthy people paying into the system. You know, people who are relatively healthy and require relatively little medical assistance, health coverage, to offset the cost of the people who are in the plan with significant health problems.
Right.
You know, that was the reason given. Recently there was a brouhaha over some California health insurance companies who, in one shot this year, were asking to raise their premiums by 39%. And the reason that they gave when they were called to Capitol Hill to defend why you're making a 39% increase in premiums in one shot, they said, well, with the economic recession, there's been a lot of people that have been dropping their health coverage.
Yeah.
And the only people who are, you know, the majority of the people who are left in these plans are the sick people who need the help. There's not a lot of healthy people who are paying into it and not using services, so we have to raise the cost in order to pay for the services that are being rendered.
That's kind of scary, isn't it?
Vicious cycle.
Yeah.
When you need it the most, it's going to cost you the most.
Yeah.
So there are some measures, I don't have the specifics in mind, that are supposed to provide some controls over cost, but really the cost control seems to be in getting people to pay into plans, getting more people covered, paying into the plans.
Yeah.
This could be a naive question. Do you see a certain economic side to this too, where so we make healthcare more accessible to people? That's good. So more people are accessing it, which costs money. Does this drive multi-part? Does this sort of drive a boom in the healthcare industry? Does this make healthcare resources a little more scarce in the short term?